My dad's fiancée framed me for theft to ruin our relationship, but her affair was exposed right before their wedding. Now she's out of our lives for good. So last week, my dad, 46, male, was supposed to marry Cindy, 44, female. I, 24, female, was not present because my invitation had been rescinded by my father due to a false allegation that Cindy had made against me about a month ago that I had apparently stolen her wedding jewelry. Cindy and my father had been dating for the last 3 years, and I always tried to be nice to her, but she seemed uninterested. My mother passed away when I was really young, so I didn't take issue with the fact that my dad was dating somebody else. So, I really don't know why she disliked me. Anyway, it's not like we were close. About a month ago, Cindy invited me to the house and on the phone. She told me that she wanted to work on our relationship because now that she was going to be married to my father, she wanted to build a relationship with me as well. I thought that was nice of her, but I was also kind of suspicious. So I initially said no, but she was really insistent upon it. I decided to pay her a visit after work, and when I got there, she was really warm and nice to me. My dad had not come back home from work while we were talking, so for about an hour, it was just the two of us. At some point, I got up to use the washroom, and that's when she must have snuck her wedding jewelry into my bag. I don't know exactly how she managed to do it, because I must have only been gone for about 2 minutes, and even when I came back, everything was going smoothly. Then my dad came back home, and so did my soon-to-be stepsister, Dana, 16, female, since she was staying back at school for drama rehearsal. Cindy had picked the perfect day to pin this on me. It was very well planned since it was just the two of us at home, and she could easily accuse me of anything, and only had to make it believable. After my dad and Dana came back home, she started discussing the wedding with all of us. Out of the blue, she suddenly turned to me and said that she wanted to show me her wedding jewelry. So, she went back into her room to get it. But as you might have figured out by now, she did not find it there and started having a fit over it. Everyone went crazy about it because the jewelry was worth quite a lot. We all started searching around the house, and it didn't even occur to anyone to search my bag since I knew I hadn't taken it, and nobody had any reason to suspect me. But when we couldn't find anything in the house, after almost an hour of searching, Cindy suggested that it might be a good idea to look in our bags and other unlikely places. So, I looked into my bag because I didn't think I would find anything there, and yet it was there. I was shocked when I brought out the jewelry. Cindy and everyone else started looking serious because we were still trying to weigh out the implications of this. Then Cindy said that she was glad we had found the jewelry, but was very upset that I had done something like this. I tried to explain that I hadn't done anything. The jewelry had just shown up in my bag without any explanation. And even as I was saying it, I knew how ridiculous it must have sounded to everyone else. But she told me that this was exactly what she had been afraid of. She then started addressing my father and told him that she always felt there was a sort of disconnect between her and me, and had always tried to work on it. But I just seemed like I was too closed off to her to acknowledge any of her efforts. She claimed that she had noticed that even on the day of her engagement to my father, I had not been happy and had apparently even told her that I felt like they were rushing into this. She made it seem like I was the one who never liked her, even though it was the other way around. And then, the worst lie of all, she told my father that apparently today, when she had called me up to pay her a visit because she really wanted to have a discussion about this, I had agreed. However, she had left me alone in the house initially, since she had to go out and speak to one of the neighbors about some issue with their shared fence, and she feared that it was around that time, when I had been completely by myself in the house, that I had snuck into the bedroom where she had kept her jewelry and taken it away so that I could ruin the event for her. It was all a bunch of lies, and I was infuriated that she was trying to accuse me of something like this. It was just outrageous, so I started screaming at her, and I tried to tell my father the truth, but he just looked really disappointed and resigned. He told me that he didn't want to discuss things with me right then, and asked me to leave, but I refused to go and kept trying to make him see that I'm not a thief. I would never do something like this to sabotage their wedding. I also tried to tell him the truth about my relationship with Cindy, and that I had been the one who had left the room to go to the washroom when we were there. He just refused to listen and said that he was exhausted from work and couldn't entertain this right now. Eventually, I had to leave because both my father and I were getting really agitated, and I didn't want that. I thought that I would explain everything to him later when both of us were feeling calmer, but I never got that opportunity because the very next morning, my dad sent me an email saying that he didn't want to talk to me anymore, and that he also did not want me at the wedding. Apparently, Cindy had managed to get through to him, and he was choosing to believe her over me because, well, she is his wife-to-be, and he trusts her implicitly. She had also told him a lot of lies about how I used to treat her when she tried to be nice to me over the past couple of years. So, now he thinks that it's best for us if we spend some time apart, and I can get back to them when I'm ready to accept her as part of the family. I thought about reaching out to him and letting him know the truth, but honestly, there was no point. He had already picked which side he wanted to be on. In spite of being my father, and literally having raised me since I was little, he thought that Cindy was right about my character. He thought that I was a thief, and that was all I needed to know. So, I did not reach out to him again, and I blocked him everywhere. It wasn't like I wasn't hurt, trust me, I definitely was. But what's the point of trying to keep in touch with somebody who doesn't even believe you? When he chose to believe Cindy, he implied that I was actually a thief with no ethics or morals. And I cannot take that sort of disrespect. So, I did what was best for me. We haven't had any contact in the past month, and then, last week, just an hour before the ceremony, I got a huge surprise because Dana unexpectedly showed up at my house. I have had them over for a couple of dinners, so she knows where I live, and she was in full bridesmaid attire when she came to my house, so I was very confused. She looked really distraught, so I asked her what was going on because whatever problems I had with her mother, I was not going to treat her badly because of that. She has always been very sweet to me, and I think she's a good kid. So, I invited her in so she could talk to me and tell me what was bothering her, since I could tell from her face that she was here with bad news. More importantly, she was here on the day of her mother's wedding with just 1 hour to go before the ceremony, so I needed to know what was going on because, if it involved my father, I couldn't let anything bad happen. Even if we were not on speaking terms, he was still my dad, and I owed this to him. Once she was seated, she started looking very nervous, so I helped put her at ease and talk to her because her being nervous was making me feel nervous. Eventually, she just blurted out what was bothering her, and, well, she had realized that Cindy was having an affair. She told me that 2 weeks before the wedding, she had been coming back home from school with a couple of her friends, and they had spotted her in a cafe, holding hands with another man. She had confronted her mother about it later on once she got home, and Cindy had denied everything and got defensive. But that confirmed what they already believed, that her mother was having an affair and was cheating on her fiancé. She even went through her mom's phone while she was asleep, and she was right about everything, but she just didn't know what to do about it. So she kept her mouth shut for 2 weeks. But right before the wedding, her conscience kicked in, and she realized that she couldn't let my father do this. She said that she had been really nervous about going against her mother because she knew that the consequences would be dire, but she felt like she had to tell somebody the truth. And since she herself was quite shy and reserved, she felt like I was the only person who would be able to help her out in this situation. At one point, she started crying on my couch, and I felt really bad for her because I couldn't imagine what it must have felt like to know that her mother was cheating on her stepdad and not being able to say anything out of fear and helplessness. She told me that at the very last moment, she had realized that she just couldn't let this happen and allow this wedding to take place. My father had been nothing but wonderful to the both of them, and she couldn't stab him in the back like this. I really appreciated that. She begged me to come with her to the wedding and talk about this because she was really scared, and she was literally trembling all over. So, I decided to go along with her plans. Besides, I would never pass up an opportunity to put Cindy in her place after the way she had ruined the relationship between my father and me. So, Dana and I drove to the wedding venue, and when we walked in, everyone was shocked, mostly because I was in casual clothes, and they didn't expect me to show up like that for my father's wedding. Everybody had known about the fallout we had a month ago, so some people didn't even expect me to attend in the first place. And then there was also the fact that Dana's family had been worried sick about her because she had gone missing just an hour before the wedding, and everybody had been waiting for her to show up so they could start with the ceremony. But when the two of us walked in, my father and Cindy were shocked. Immediately, Cindy decided to ignore my existence and walked up to Dana, asking her where she had been for the past hour, because everybody had been waiting for her to start the ceremony and had been very worried since she wasn't responding to any of their messages. Then she turned towards me and asked why exactly Dana had dragged in this filth with her on the most important day of her life. That really pissed me off, so I decided not to wait any longer, and I spoke up loud enough for everyone to hear. I told everybody what Dana had told me about how Cindy had been having an affair, and I was here with Dana to help my father so he wouldn't be stupid enough to marry this woman. The look on Cindy's face when I said that was worth seeing, and I got to enjoy it for a good few seconds before she launched herself at me and started hitting me. I was caught off guard because I had not expected her to physically attack me like that. She scratched my face a good few times while she was on top of me, but I managed to recover quickly, and my fight or flight kicked in. So I fought her off. Eventually, people were able to separate us. For the record, I'm not a fan of physical fights, but I slapped her really hard in the face, so I was kind of happy about that. But anyway, once we were dragged off of each other, she started, crying crocodile tears because she was really upset. I don't know about what. She was mumbling something about how her own daughter had betrayed her. Then she talked to my father and said that she would never even dream of cheating on him. But he looked very confused, so he told us that we needed to speak to each other as a family first. Then we went to his room in the hotel. Once we were in the room, Dana told my father in person about everything that she had seen on the phone, and Cindy knew instantly that she was screwed. She tried to claim that going through her phone was a breach of privacy, and she would not allow it once again. But my father demanded it, and eventually, she had to give in. Once she showed him her phone, it was over, and we all knew it. My dad saw her phone, and he told her that the wedding was canceled, and he didn't even want to see her at the moment, so he asked her to leave. When she refused to go away, begging him to give her a chance to explain, he decided that he was going to go back home. So, he left the hotel with Cindy running after him, trying to talk to him, but he was not interested. He just walked out, got into his car, and went back home. Then it was just Cindy, Dana, and me. I was scared for Dana, to be honest, so I told her to pack her things. And we could go to my house because I was pretty sure that Cindy did not want to see her either. Cindy was against the idea, but Dana told her that she did not feel like being around her mother at the moment anyway, since what she had done was pretty disgusting. So, she came back home with me. And for the past week, she has been living with me. I didn't go back to the wedding hall, but I heard from my uncle that, apparently, Cindy sent instructions to the hotel staff to serve the guests lunch and told everyone the sad news that the wedding had been canceled, and they could go home after that. She wasn't even there for lunch. She just made that announcement and went back to her room, probably to cry. After that, everyone went home, and since then, nobody has heard from my father. I was kind of worried about him, and I wanted to check up on him. I was planning on visiting him, but last night he called me. I thought he was going to thank me, or at least apologize to me for treating me badly this past month. But instead, he told me that he was really disappointed about the approach I had decided to take on the day of his wedding. He told me that if I really wanted to help him out, I should have contacted him personally and spoken to him privately, instead of making that announcement so publicly and humiliating him. I was really shocked that he was making this seem like it was somehow my fault. I got really mad, so I started telling him that I would have done so, but his fiancée addressed me as filth, and that's what ticked me off. I had to stand up for myself since I knew that my father wouldn't, but he ignored that and just told me that if I really wanted to protect him, I should have spoken to him in private because now he feels that he has become the laughing stock of the family, and it's all my fault. He hung up before I could say anything, and that was it. So now I'm wondering if I did the right thing. AETA for publicly announcing that my dad's fiancée had been cheating on him at his wedding. Edit. I know that I had said that I had blocked my father everywhere. So he called me from his work phone number. That's how he was able to contact me. Dana's father is not in the picture. He has never been. Cindy had Dana with a coworker that she was dating at her previous company, and when the guy found out that she was pregnant, he bailed. He terminated any rights, and she didn't want child support from him because she was too offended by the fact that he wanted nothing to do with her or the baby after the pregnancy. So she cut him out of her life and quit the company she was working at to start somewhere else. They have not kept in touch since then, and Dana has never even met her father. So she came back home with me naturally, since, like I said, she did not want to be with her mother at the time. And she didn't feel like she wanted to go back home to stay with my father. I was her safest bet, and I don't really mind having her here. She's sweet and quiet and helps me with the chores. I think I mentioned in my original post as well that we have always shared a good relationship, unlike me and her mother. I would hate to have Cindy as part of the family, but I don't really mind. Update 1. Hello. 3 days ago, I got that phone call from my father, and we got into a bit of a tiff. I was wondering if I was still the one to blame for humiliating him at his wedding, and after reading the comments, I realized that I'm not. He's just being unreasonable. I did what I had to, and maybe making that announcement publicly was probably not nice, but honestly, I don't care. I have spoken to a bunch of people from my family, and they think that what I did was perfectly justified because some people who had been sitting near me when Cindy called me filth had heard her, and they didn't appreciate it. And for the record, nobody thinks that my dad should feel humiliated about what happened. People mostly feel bad about him, but they are not treating him like the laughingstock of the family like he believes. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Personally, I don't think that what he had done to me 1 month ago was justified either. He had literally cut me off and uninvited me from his wedding based on what Cindy had said to him. It had been her word against mine, and he had chosen to believe Cindy and not his own daughter. So, why would I even bother to think about what he would feel before making an announcement to save him from someone else? The way he's acting is really irrational and unreasonable, and I don't think I want to talk to him right now, at least not until he apologizes. And even then, I'm not sure if our relationship can be repaired. Update 2. Hello? It's close to almost 2 weeks since the day of the wedding, and Cindy has still not reached out to us. So, I don't know what she's planning to do. Dana is still living with me, and I am pleased with it since I don't really mind having her around, like I had said earlier. But her school is reopening in a couple of days, and summer break is going to be over soon. So, she also needs to bring a lot of her things from her home if she intends on continuing to live with me. Money is not a problem for me. I can support her since I earn enough, and that's one thing that I'm grateful for. But I feel like this whole conflict needs to be resolved at some point, for Dana's sake, if not mine. I don't know, I just feel like there are a lot of things that have not come to a conclusion, and right now, everything is just kind of hanging in the air. I guess what I'm trying to say is there is a lot of confusion about what's going to happen in the future, and that goes for both me and Dana, since neither of us has any idea what our parents are up to. It's making me feel blindsided and out of control because I don't know what to expect. My dad and I have not spoken since that last phone call, and I feel like I'm going to have to reach out to him eventually, because if Dana wants to go to school, she needs to bring over her books and clothes and everything. So far, she has only been sharing my clothes and whatever she had brought to the hotel for the wedding. She cannot wear those to school, and even if we take the clothes out of the equation, she still needs her books. So, we will definitely have to go back to my dad's house for that, and so I'm going to have to talk to him and coordinate the timings with him. But at the same time, I feel really weird about this, and I feel like whatever relationship I had with my father has been absolutely ruined, and we can never go back to being the same way again. So, even talking to him feels like a massive task. Thankfully, at least Dana does not feel the same about her mother. She has told me that the longer she stays away from her, the better she feels. Apparently, she had never really been a good mother to her daughter, and it honestly doesn't come as a shock to me. Dana told me that Cindy had always been more bothered about her friends and how she was perceived by everyone else, which is why she used to treat her very differently in public, like she was the apple of her eye. But in private, she couldn't care less about her daughter. When she was younger, Cindy would mostly just dump her with Nanny, and once she was old enough to stay on her own, she moved in with my father and would only be nice to her when my dad was around. It was a very hot and cold relationship that she had with Cindy, so I can imagine why she is glad to be rid of her at the moment. Update third. So a couple of days ago, I had talked about how I needed to talk to my father so I could go to the house and collect all the things that Dana needed. For the time being, she was going to be living with me because Cindy hadn't contacted her, and even if she did contact her, she wasn't sure that she wanted to go back to Cindy anyway. When I posted my update, a lot of people told me that I needed to just rip off the band-aid, speak to my father, and get this over with. So I decided to do exactly that. After I posted that update, I unblocked and texted him in the evening and asked if I could come over to collect Dana's things, and he responded that I could. So, we went to his house, and it was a total mess. It looked like it hadn't been cleaned for almost 2 weeks, and my dad was a mess too. We tried to ignore it and just minded our own business. But while I was leaving, I just couldn't help myself and asked my dad if he had heard from Cindy. He told me that they had spoken after the wedding had been canceled, paid off all the vendors, and split the costs as they had decided earlier. But that was it. After that, he had not heard from her. I told him that, for what it's worth, I was sorry that he was having to go through all of this, and he just nodded before staring off into space again. That's all he had been doing for the hour that we had been there, just taking periodic sips of wine from his glass and staring off into space. He hadn't even bothered to change from his work clothes, and that was unusual because my dad said that he felt suffocated when he was in his work clothes and liked to change as soon as he came home. But I could tell that he was really struggling. I was about to leave, but then he stopped me and said that he wanted to apologize for everything that he had put me through. He said that Cindy had lied to him about a lot of things, and only now does he realize that he had been played for a fool just because Cindy wanted me out of the picture. He said the only reason he had believed Cindy when she had accused me of stealing was because she had produced screenshots of me being really rude to her when she was trying to text me, and he thought that it was sufficient proof. But now he thought that maybe those screenshots had been fabricated, and he guessed that she had probably just told a friend to be rude to her and changed the contact name to mine. He also told me that she had been very clever about how she was going to do this and had told him about several plans that she had tried to make with me that I had canceled. She would bring me up in casual conversations and make me seem like the villain, and in his head he had already been manipulated and had been too foolish to realize it. So he wanted to apologize to me for that. Then he started crying, so I consoled him for a bit, and so did Dana, telling him that it wasn't entirely his fault and the fact that he was sorry for it was enough for now. I felt really bad for him, so I told him that I would arrange for a housekeeper who would take care of the house and put him in touch with a therapist as soon as I could. I don't know if we're going to be able to repair our relationship, but at least I have the satisfaction of knowing that I tried. Cindy was cunning and manipulative, and my dad couldn't see through it. I'm not going to hold that against him because he was in love with her. As much as it hurt me, I know that if I were in his place, I might not have been able to see through Cindy either. Love makes people stupid and blind, and with Cindy, it would have been hard not to fall for her lies, because she can be very manipulative when she wants to be. I have seen that firsthand. Besides, it's very clear that she had been trying to alienate my father so it would be easier to control him. I have read about these kinds of things. It's a form of abuse, and when somebody's being abused, I want to be the kind of person who helps them out instead of turning my back on them. Plus, my dad seems genuinely apologetic, so I think I've made the right choice. Update 4. Hi! So, a couple of weeks have passed, and Cindy has finally surfaced. She came to my house a couple of days back and said that she was terminating her parental rights over Dana, so I could have at it and steal the life that she had, because she didn't need a daughter like Dana, who had the audacity to screw over her own mother. Dana didn't seem to mind one bit and was actually thrilled. I've gotten used to having her around as well, so I'm happy about having a little sister. My father has started therapy, and we are trying to rebuild our relationship as well. He has also told me that he's going to support Dana financially, so I don't need to worry about that. Things are finally looking up for us as a family, and I couldn't be happier.